Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen is preparing for an upcoming mission to the moon. Stacey Comer spoke with the former Cold Lake resident to find out how things are going as he trains for the upcoming voyage.
Do I get scared? 100%. Am I living in constant fear leading up to this mission? No, absolutely not.
We have a special guest today on Primetime Local News. Canadian astronaut Colonel Jeremy Hansen is with us today. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Well, let's chat about what you've been up to because your life is much more exciting than mine. Tell me about what you've been doing as far as training for the upcoming Artemis II mission.
The crew is pretty deep into training. I just came to this interview from a sim. So sitting in what you would imagine a simulator for a capsule looks like, and you've got the displays and you're just going through different failures that we can come up against and understanding how we're going to deal with them. But I have to explain, we are just kind of building all of this as we go. So like we saw some procedures today for the first time. We're looking at them. We find some issues, workarounds, and then we redevelop, and then we'll run it again in the sim another day. And so it's just a lot of work between now and when we launch, in theory, in just over a year. But it's a lot of fun, and we're having a great time.
What has been the most surprising thing to you so far, Jeremy, with part of the training? Is there anything that's really kind of stood out as something that maybe you weren't expecting?
The training is, is not surprising to me. I think this idea that, we're doing it for the first time is maybe foreign to some people, that we don't have it all figured out and we're just training a crew the knowns. No, we're actually figuring it out how we're going to do it still. So that's pretty interesting when you look at it. The thing that's probably most surprising is just when you look at how many people are involved to go to the moon, just how complex it is. I don't think any of us think it's easy, but when you start to look at, I talk to new people every day, and I'm like, wow, you are really down into the weeds on all these little things. And I'm glad you're thinking about that, because that's really crazy that we have to kind of manage all of those tiny details. But it's really a huge challenge to go back to the moon. It brings out, what's really cool is it brings out the best in people. Like they're real problems that they're trying to figure out how to solve for the first time. Even though we got on the moon before, it's different this time. The way we're doing it, the architecture, the vehicles. And so it's really exciting to see people in their wheelhouse just solving tough problems.
Now, do you guys learn everybody's role, everybody on the crew who's going to be on the Artemis II mission, or do you just focus specifically on your own role?
Yeah, all four of the crew members are training in everything is how we're managing this one. Since it's a test flight, we have our defined roles for launch and landing. So, Reed, with the commander, and Victor, the pilot, will be strapped into those seats for launch and landing. And they'll be controlling the vehicle through those phases of flight. But for the rest of the 9 days, which is the bulk of the mission, we'll just be sharing those duties. So I'll be kind of rotating through managing the vehicle, flying the vehicle. And so we're all training and then backing each other up for the launch and the entry as well.
I was looking on the vlogs on the Space Agency website, Jeremy, and I found it interesting that somebody had asked you the question, are you scared to go to space? And are you scared of what you might encounter? And can you tell me just a little bit about that question and what your answer was? I found it so interesting.
So yeah, I get asked this a lot. Are you not scared? And I'm not scared at the moment. I know I'll have moments of fear, so I do get scared, of course. One of the things I learned, and it really got drilled into me in the military, actually, was how to sort of take fear as an indicator, but compartmentalize it or set it aside and work the problem. When you come to that realization that there aren't many problems that you can't make worse, and so if you really do want to survive in a really challenging situation, you have to think with clear mind. You have to just kind of not worry about the outcome, worry about the steps that you need to do, and just focus on them one at a time. And you hope at the end of it, you'll come out successful as a team, you'll survive, or you'll save the mission or the spacecraft, or whatever it happens to be. And so just to sum that up, fear is an indicator. We all get it. It's like a smoke detector going off in your house, but you don't want fear driving the show, or you're in big trouble.
Now, as far as the training actually goes here, heading into the actual mission itself, Jeremy, are you guys on track, or is there a way to measure it, or do you just, keep going and then when you're ready, you're ready?
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of both. We set goals. Our launch date is the end of next year, and that is what the whole team is marching towards. And until we get to the point where we really understand why we can't make that date, we'll just hold that date. So we're all working towards the same goal, because it's a big team of people. Like companies and governments all have to be marching towards the same goal. But there's that element of what you said is we'll go when we're ready. And we know it's a test flight, and we have to do our best to buy down as many of the risks that we can. We'll still take some pretty big risks, but we want to buy down all the ones that we have identified, and we know a way to reasonably mitigate it. And if time is one of those buy down measures, then we'll of course adjust the timeline.
Jeremy, you have a lot of people around here that know you from your time at Four Wing Cold Lake and spending time in this area. We often get comments when we post your story saying, we're so excited to see the fact that Jeremy's on the Artemis 2 mission. And, young kids, we talked about this before, looking up to you. What do you say to them? Because I'm sure it must be some days even a little bit surreal for you to realize what you're going to be doing. So what do you say to them if they think, well, I'm not sure if I can do what Jeremy's going to be doing?
Yeah, that's the reality of it. The people that knew me in Cold Lake know that I'm just a regular human being. And it's really just knowing what I wanted to do and sharing that with other people. It created this path where people helped me overcome challenges, give me the experiences I needed to become an astronaut and prepare me for these challenges. And there's the other reality, there's just an element of luck involved. And so if Canada needed 1,000 astronauts, they'd find 1,000 astronauts, but we just haven't needed that many to date. So there's a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, but a whole lot of teamwork is what it really comes down to it when you reflect on it. I learned a lot in my time in Cold Lake and in the forces in general, and it's the people that have built the skill sets that I use every day today to join a big team now to go to the moon and come back. It's pretty phenomenal, but it's really just people making an active decision to work together to create solutions. I think this is one of the things that I think a lot about right now is when we all watch the news, we're a little bit disappointed in ourselves as humans. We're just not doing a great job on this planet overall. We could do better. And what I see happening, space program's not going to fix everything, but it is one example where we're setting these altruistic goals that bring people together to create solutions. And it's really magical to watch. And I often kind of remark, we're not going to fix everything, but at least we have all these great minds creating instead of destroying, and they're doing something positive. There will be ripple effects of these Artemis missions for decades to come, just like there were from the Apollo program. And I think that is a good reminder for all the people that watch this show that we just need to put our best foot forward in whatever tasks we have in front of us and try to make this world a better place.
Well, Jeremy, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for chatting with me, and we wish you the best for the holidays. Hopefully you get a little bit of a break over Christmas, and best wishes as the training continues.
I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Great to talk with you.
Abby St. John joins me now with the weather. Blustery and chilly this afternoon, and we did see some flurries. What can we look forward to?
Yes, that seems to be the case. I mean, we woke up this morning and it was quite sunny out, clear skies, and it was a little bit warm too, but then as the day went on, the wind started to pick up, the clouds started to roll in, and then we got just over the past, I think maybe an hour, a couple hours, we had seen some flurries throughout the sky. Most of it didn't stick around. It was more wet, but there was some traces of it on some cars as I was passing to get into the studio. So the day kind of made a turn for the worse a little bit. It's -1 currently, but feels closer to -8 with that wind chill, and that wind is very, very strong at 37 kilometers per hour. So it is quite chilly out and not that great of an evening to start. And then across the region, 4 degrees in Provost, 2 in Wainwright and Vegreville, 5 out in Edmonton, -1 in Vermilion, Marwayne, St. Paul, and Cold Lake, and Bonnyville and Lac La Biche are sitting at 0. And then on the Saskatchewan side, -1 in Isla Crosse and Maidstone, +1 in Pierceland, Green Lake, Meadow Lake, and North Battleford, 4 out in Macklin, and 0 in St. Walburg. And then overnight tonight in North Battleford, breezy. This evening, otherwise partially cloudy skies. It should be a fairly nice evening out with a evening temperature of -4. And then tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud. The clouds will start giving away, so it should be a clear day out tomorrow with a high of +1. And that wind won't be as strong at 11 kilometers per hour. Cold Lake overnight tonight will experience very cloudy conditions with a low of -6 and that wind around 15 kilometers per hour, so it's not too bad, but it will be quite cloudy. And then tomorrow it should be sunny to partially cloudy skies, so there'll be a little bit of cloud coverage throughout the day, but for the most part that sun should be shining. Only 7 kilometer per hour winds, so it shouldn't be too windy, and a high of +1. Here in Lloydminster overnight, it'll be -7, breezy as well. That wind will kind of start slowing down as the evening goes on, around to 19 kilometers per hour. Otherwise, it will be a little bit cold, and we're expected to get about 1 centimeter of snowfall overnight tonight. So I think the snow will be on and off throughout the evening and into tonight. And then there's that 68% chance of that 1 centimeter of snow. So not too much, but it should snow on and off. And then over tomorrow, over the course of the day, in the morning, it will be a mix of sun and cloud. So it should be a pretty sunny day out, similar to what we saw this morning before the clouds started rolling in, with a high of -7. And then at recess time, it will warm up to -4. And then -1 for the rest of the day as you go through lunch, and then day out is for tomorrow. And then over the next 3 days, 0 and a -7 for tomorrow. And then on Friday, it should be a very sunny day out, but quite breezy with a high of +5 and a low of -5. And then on Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud throughout the day with a high of +6 and a low of -2. That is your first look at your evening weather forecast. I'll have more overnight temperatures later on in the show.
Thanks, Abby. Coming up after the break, premiers address healthcare staffing shortages.
I'm very happy to be joined here today with Janelle Owen. She's the marketing coordinator for the Lloydminster Mall. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Having me.
Of course. Now, there is an exciting event coming up next week at the mall. It's called Glitter Night. And on all the posters, it says it's an exclusive night of shopping. And that's super exciting, especially for those shopaholics out there, and with Christmas coming up and the holiday season beginning. So tell me about what Glitter Night is and what people should know.
Thank you. So this year we've partnered with Skyline Refrigeration and White Knight Construction for our annual fundraiser, which is Glitter Night. So it's next Tuesday, November 14th from 6:15 to 9 p.m. So Glitter Night is an exclusive, ticket holders only night of shopping, sales, prizes. Tickets are $10. 100% of those proceeds are given back to local community groups, sports teams, not-for-profits. If you end up buying a ticket from any of those, the money goes directly into their pockets. There's lots going on this year. We're going to have 2 grand prizes, a $1,000 travel voucher, and a $500 Lloyd Mall gift card, and tons of door prizes. We also have a full dessert bar with all sorts of goodies, complete with cocktails, mocktails. We have a DJ, live music, and exclusive sales and discounts. So it will be only for that evening. And they are so good that we have to keep them a secret.
That is amazing. Now, the mall has come up with a ton of very unique events, as a way to get people to shop in the mall. Where did the inspiration come from for Glitter Night to hold an exclusive shopping event after hours in the mall?
Glitter Night came far before I did, and they decided to start that as a great way to give back to the community, because we don't see any of the profit from that. That $10 a ticket goes directly to the groups. And so a lot of those groups use them as their fundraiser for the year. So there is, if you go to lloydmall.com, it has a full list of all of the groups that are selling tickets, and every penny goes back to them.
Now, I know you mentioned that there's a few things that you want to leave under wraps, but is all stores in the mall going to be available for shoppers for this night?
Yes, all the stores will be open and they will have sales on top of the sales that they already have and only for that evening.
That sounds amazing. And how can people find tickets? You know, where can they go to find them? You said that they were $10 each, and all that kind of technical stuff for people to know.
So there are, if you go to lloydmall.com, there will be a full list of all of the community groups on Facebook. A lot of them are posting that they have them available as well. We do have them at our Lloyd Mall and Min office where our ticket proceeds will be going to the interval home. There's some other groups within the Lloyd Mall as well that are going to be selling, and then they will also pick a local non-for-profit that they are giving their money to.
That's an awesome way to, give back to those nonprofits who do fundraise a lot throughout the year for their organization. So this is just another step for them as well. Now, is there anything else that you would like to add in regards to upcoming events or anything else going on at the mall?
Do have some exciting news to share is that Maurice's has scheduled its grand opening for November 18th and 19th. So they have been working hard behind the scenes to have everything ready, and I may have snuck a peek or two, and it is looking pretty great. As well, we will be partnering with the Border Inn and Suites and hosting Breakfast with Santa Saturday, December 9th. So stay tuned because we will be having some more information coming very soon, including how to get tickets.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope Glitter Night is a huge success, and we will definitely be back to talk about Breakfast with Santa because that's going to be a spectacular event for not only families, but children especially. So, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Furniture set and design supplied by Furniture Gallery, downtown Lloydminster.
Stephanie Dobson is back with us once again this week. Stephanie is a lawyer and mediator here in Lloydminster at Hankett Divorce Law and Mediation for another episode of Healthy Thriving Family After Divorce. Stephanie, thank you for joining me once again.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Stacey.
Well, we're continuing our theme for the month of November, which is division of property. And today we're going to get into basically more specifics, I guess, when it comes up to dividing households and what's involved with that, because there is a lot, as we found out last week.
Yeah.
So let's start out. Can you give me a definition, Stephanie, of what type of property we would be looking at when we're talking about household contents?
Well, most people, when they think of household goods, will think of items on the inside of their house. So things like kitchen items, bedroom contents, living room furniture, wall art, memorabilia, collections, that sort of thing. But household contents in my definition of it also can include things like appliances. It can include the contents of a garage, which can be quite substantial, tools, sort of little motorized vehicle, motorized items, pieces of equipment, outbuildings, sheds, lawn equipment, even decorative items. So in a separation or divorce, when we talk about household contents, what we're really looking at is items that will be lumped together in one category and then divided between the parties.
Okay, and when they're looking at doing this, Stephanie, do they have to be both living in the home or they've already separated, or does it matter when this is done?
Well, families can divide up their household contents anytime. Usually there's two steps to any division. So the first step is actually the planning for the division of the household contents. And then the second is actually the physical division of those contents. So there's no magic when this second step occurs, but best practice would be to have the discussion about how to divide the household contents, certainly before anyone physically moves out of the home. But sometimes it might be that one person ends up having to move out of the home with just minimal personal belongings, whether they're going to a temporary residence or their new residence is just a small place that they need to sort of work themselves into something bigger where they can take more household contents. But just to be very clear, just because someone moves out and they don't take all of the household contents that they're looking to take doesn't necessarily mean that they lose any entitlement to those household contents later on.
Okay, well, let's maybe do the step by step, Stephanie, when you're looking to divide the household contents. Just to make it simpler, beginning to end, how does the process start?
Well, what I recommend is first, so this is when we're looking at, how do those household contents get divided between two parties. So first, we're going to create some kind of a master list of everything in the house, right? Everything that you consider a household content, we're going to put that onto a list. Then second step is we're going to value the item. So this is how much the items would sell for, not necessarily the replacement of that item. Third, so first we've listed it, then we valued it, and then we're going to pick who keeps what. Now, sometimes it's really hard to figure out who's going to keep what. So usually what I recommend doing is going through the whole house and figuring out, generally speaking, who would like to keep what. And then when there's any overlap in certain items, like both of you want to keep something or neither of you want to keep a particular thing, then, you would go from there and figure out how to break that tie. Or figure out how to get that thing sold. And then the fourth step is actually figuring out whether there's an equalization. So if you take everything that's in the one party's lump of stuff that they want to take and the other party's lump of stuff that they want to take, how equal or unequal is that from a value standpoint?
Now, what happens if they don't want to value or list everything? Because that could get a bit tedious in some households.
Yeah, there's lots of families that come to me and they say, look, we don't want to go through that whole process. And certainly we don't want to get our divorce professional involved in that whole process, listing everything item by item and valuing everything. What I say is that if both spouses have agreed that they've divided their household contents, that lump of stuff, that household contents divided satisfactorily, then, roughly equal, right? You could either say, this stuff for this stuff is about equal, or you could say we each got a couch and we each got the set of tools that we wanted. As long as there's not much as far as disparity when it comes to value, then as long as the parties are good with it, we just leave it be.
All right, well, let's go through some of the things that, have to be divided up. So in the first case, let's talk about wedding gifts. I don't even know how you begin to sort something like that.
Well, wedding gifts are traditionally gifts to both of you. So they're divisible as part of the separation or divorce. So very often when it comes down to the actual practicality of it, it's the spouse who was closer to that person who gave that gift that often will want to keep that from a sentimental point of view. But that still doesn't, we can't forget about the fact that still has to be listed and valued as part of the household contents.
And then you kind of touched on it a little bit in your answer there, Stephanie, but what about sentimental items? There could be lots of disagreements, things like photos, maybe your kids' graduation photos, that sort of things. How do you go about splitting up those?
Oh dear. Well, in the age of the digital photos, that makes it a lot easier. You can make copies of those photos, electronic copies of those photos very easily. But in the case where there's some, childhood photos that are not digitally stored, it really makes it a lot more difficult. But it's really important to actually go through those albums and figure out how are you going to divide those. And sometimes families say, the kids' childhood photos we'll just give to the children, right? We'll divide them up between the children instead of each of us keeping them. But certainly it makes it easier when they're digital.
All right, Stephanie. Well, great advice as always. Lots to think about when it comes to this. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining me, and we'll be back again next week.
Yeah. Thanks, Stacey.
Actor Patrick Dempsey, who has long carried the nickname Dr. McDreamy, has a new title. People magazine has named the Grey's Anatomy star Sexiest Man Alive for 2023. The 57-year-old actor says his family laughed quite hard when they found out the news. The People edition with Dempsey's cover story will be out on Friday.
Yeah, I don't know why it took so long for him to get this title. However, I am under the belief that he has aged like fine wine. I think he looks better than he's ever been. You know, even when he was younger, he was still handsome. He had that boyish charm like in Can't Buy Me Love. But then he grew up through Grey's Anatomy and he just got better and better even as he started graying. He's silver fox for sure. So well-deserved Patrick Dempsey.
Well, I'm glad your favorite got the title. Well, that's all we have for you tonight. Thanks for joining us and have a great evening.